All right, so here's what I learned in 1 month day trading full time. So 22 trading days, that's about roughly an average month. You get about 22 trading days in a month. You get, I believe, about 252 trading days in a year. So that's 252 opportunities to make money in the year. I'm going to go over the results of what I did. A couple of things that I learned along the way. So, number one, just so you guys know, I'm not some guy that didn't have any experience in the markets and just dove in and here are my results after a month. My results are actually in general I would say pretty good, and I'll explain why and how. But you got to keep in mind that I've been trading for a long time on and off. I did a lot more swing trading, but now I'm full time in front of the screens every day, watching the market, studying. So my background, I've blown up accounts. Everybody who day trades or will day trade will blow up accounts. It's a reality, man. So you should not put all your money in the account. You should trade smaller because you're gonna lose it, man. Even if you're trading in a simulated account, that's good to get used to the platform. When there's real money on the line, that's when the emotions come in, and that affects you to a great deal. So even though I know that and I read and study trading psychology books, when I'm in the market and it's stuff happening in real time, I got real money on the line, it messes you up. It messes you up. Like sometimes you got positions going against you, and then your other positions are flat or they don't look bad, but sometimes just to reduce exposure, you even close those, which is stupid. But there's all kinds of like mistakes I'll still catch myself doing. The important thing is to be mindful of them, to journal them. I actually like a physical journal, but you should put it in a Word document too. You have both. And just, you're always working on yourself. So, number one thing that I learned is that you can actually make money. Even though they say the stats are against you, if you put enough time and energy in it, you can make money. And you don't even need as big of an account as you think. Now, bare minimum, you need $25,000 if you're a U.S. trader, just because of the pattern day trading rule that is out there. They figure if you don't have at least $25,000, you don't know what you're doing. Trust me, there are people with a lot more money than that don't know what they're doing. And there are people with less money than that do know what they're doing. But that's a rule, and we have to abide by it, where you get those 3 round trips within a 5 day period, which is pretty much nothing. You could do that in like the first 5 minutes of the day. There are a couple of workarounds which I'll talk about in a future video that you could still kind of day trade in a way with some restrictions, but you could get around it with less than 25K. I'll actually do a deep dive because I was looking into that a while ago before I had 25K. I'm like, how can I circumvent this rule in some way? Like, how can I bypass it? How can I maximize the amount of trades I can do, even though my account is pathetically small, right? What I recommend though, when people are serious about day trading, $30,000 I think is ideal, because you meet the PDT rule of 25 and you have a 5K buffer, which is nice because maybe you get down to 29, maybe you get down to 28. You could still day trade. If you close the account, you close the day below 25,000, you're not allowed to day trade anymore. And you could be out of the game for a day, a week, a month, who knows how long. So 30K is a good buffer. Now, there's two ways to play that account. Let's say you make $1,000 in a day. So the account's up to 31. You could just scrape that top off and pay yourself. If you're doing this to make an income, which has added stress, if you're relying on the day trading to pay your bills, that's extra stress you don't need. And you can get rash trading decisions and make stupid mistakes when it's money that you don't necessarily need. Obviously, it's money you want. You want to make more. That's why we're all in this game, right? But if you don't rely on it to pay your rent and your utilities and your cost of living and everything else, then it's less stressful, and you're always going to trade better with less stress in general. So 30K, you make $1,000, you could either scrape it off, pay yourself, leave it at 30K. Let's say you lost $1,000 a day, you're at 29, then you make 1,000, and back in, let's say, 2 days, you're at 30, then you make 500, scrape that 500. Or you could just keep building the account. Try to get that $30,000 day trading account to 40, to 50, to 60, to 100, whatever your goal is. But I think you should eventually take some off, pay yourself, set it aside. So let's go back to this scenario where you are scraping off the top. You got $30,000, you're up 1,000, take the thousand. Now you got a thousand aside. You got $30,000 account. You make another thousand. Take that. Put it in an account for backup. Because let's say hypothetically you're in a bad run of trades. Your 30,000 turns to 24. Instead of being out of day trading, which you might want to go back to sim trading, even though it's a little different, obviously, like I mentioned earlier. But you may want to just kind of hone your strategy, make sure you're profitable, and then get back to real money. And you could even take some of that you put aside in the account to bring you back up to above PDT, for example. Bring it back up to 30, or maybe if you only had 2,000 set aside and you're down to 24, bring it back up to 26. So that's a couple different ways to play. So number one lesson, you don't need as much money as you think to trade, whether you're well below PDT or if thinking, oh, I need 100,000. Not really, because even if you have the $30,000 account, remember, you have 4 times intraday buying power. So that $30,000 account is like you could trade with the equivalent of $120,000, at least on stock. They're not going to let you buy $120,000 worth of options, obviously, because those could go to zero. And then you'd owe the broker $90,000, and they would never allow yourself to get in that kind of position because it'd screw them. So obviously, the broker is always going to look out for their best interest. And then just a little background with me, I said I've traded for a while, I've blown accounts, all this. I was a broker. I had my Series 7, 9, and 10 licenses. The 9 and 10 are specifically for futures and options, leveraged investments. So that's why I'm very comfortable trading those. Now, you don't need these licenses to trade. You don't need a Series 7 to trade stocks. You don't need a 9 and 10 to trade futures or options. But having a better understanding of them is actually going to benefit you. So continuing education is vitally important. Being in the market real time is always the best experience. It's like if you were into boxing and you're sparring, that's going to give you more than jumping rope or hitting the heavy bag. Not to say that jumping rope and hitting the heavy bag don't have their benefits, but being in the ring sparring, it's like trading in real time. It's always the best teacher if you're willing to learn. There's a lot of people that might just go in there and they're not willing to learn. They're too closed-minded, or their ego prevents them because they already think they know it all. They don't, because people who've been trading for, I watch a lot of interviews with different traders. People who've been trading for 30 years don't know it all, and they'll be the first to admit it. And it's constantly working on themselves and their psychology. So, yeah, there's so much to talk about, and so much that I want to share, and that I learned again, or even some new stuff in the last month. These 22 trading days. I'll share my results with you guys right now, just so you kind of see what I did, and then after that I'll talk about what my big plan is, something that I do believe and I will achieve. You got to speak things into existence, I will achieve what I'm about to tell you after I show these results. All right, guys, so let's go over the numbers. You'll see all the symbols that I traded. Some futures. Basically, I do futures, I do options on futures, and then I do options on stocks, and then obviously U.S. stocks. So of all these, we got the S&P futures, we got Bitcoin, the Micro E-minis, the Ethereum stock, AAOI, AMD, APP, Dutch Brothers, CEG, CLH, Deere, DJT, FETH. This is roughly like, I don't know, maybe 20 symbols or something. And that's what I traded in the last 22 days. You'll see I had 525 orders filled, 271 canceled. But what you guys would care about are the numbers, right? So in 22 trading days, I made $19,877.13, which averages $903.50, and the win rate percentage is about 91%. Now, is making $19,000, okay, rounding up, is making roughly $20,000 good in 22 days? Yes and no. If you're trading $1 million account, not really. If you're trading what I did, which was like a $30,000 account, that's pretty damn good. So these are the results. Those are the numbers. And overall, I'm pretty happy with that. I could have traded a lot better. Like, if we look at these numbers, though, like, I made 8,900 of it, almost half of it on the S&P futures. So I should keep trading that, right? I lost $542 on APP. I made $1,600 on Electronic Arts, $26 on NVIDIA, $1,200 on Netflix. Oh, the biggest loss, Oh, of course, the trade desk. I lost $1,882. So, I gotta look at some of the. I can't believe I actually lost 387 on Tesla. I would have thought I would have been green on that with the trades. But anyway, what you want to do is go over all the data. Like, look at your biggest gains. Why are you making money on those specific symbols? And maybe you should trade those even more, maximize those. And then look at your biggest losses. Like, why are you losing on those symbols? Look at the charts. You got to study all that because even though they basically tell you, at least they try to sell you on that dream, oh, spend like an hour or two in the morning, make all this money day trading. Technically, you could be in the market for the first hour and that's it, and you can make plenty of money. I usually make the bulk of my money in that first half hour of the day, and then as the day progresses, end up losing money. Taking away the gains that I'd made. So you got to keep track of all that data. See what maybe you don't even want to trade the rest of the day. But the thing is, I will tell you this: the people that do make money in the first hour of the market, they have spent a lot of time learning how to trade, and a lot of the stuff they're doing, they got things already plotted on the charts. They already have a plan ahead of time, either at the previous night or in the morning. They're putting together the plan, and they may even trade intuitively with intuition that you do build. So you can get up to that level where you're just trading in an hour a day, but you're putting in, to be perfectly real, years of work before you can do that. But yeah, these are my results, and I'm pretty happy with 22 days. Honestly, with the way I was trading, I could have easily more than doubled that. But I'm happy with 903.50 on average a day so far. All right, so what I'm ultimately want to do, and what I feel like I can do, if I'm averaging, we'll see how the average stacks up after months. Obviously, you can't just say, oh, I did this in 1 month, and therefore that's how the rest of the year is going to be. There's going to be good months. There's going to be amazing months. There's probably going to be shitty months, man. Let's see what the average is after a year. But let's just hypothetically, when we run the numbers, I know I didn't even do all these trades nearly as good as I could have, but the averages are still good because my biggest gain on a day was like 25. Smallest gain on a day was as low as like $52. Biggest loss was about 780, and then I believe I had another one about 730. So those two losses of the 22 trading days, that's still below my average win of nine. Well, the average win is actually higher than 903. This is my average win when I account for the days that I actually lost money. My average day, not even my average win, my average day is 903. And the average loss so far is about 750, roughly. So let's say $1,000 a day on a $30,000 account. That's roughly well, if you go, keep the math simple, $1,000 a day, $252,000 a year. Let's say it was $500 a day, $125,000 a year. Most people would be very happy to make $125,000 in the corporate world. Whatever job. I mean, that, even if it's working as a stockbroker full time, that's pretty good, depending on what state you live in. It's different because that's also guaranteed, like your salary, right? Compared to day trading, you got to keep those numbers up for the whole year, right? Which is not as easy as just coming in for your 9 to 5 job, obviously. But on the higher end, 250 a year, most people would be ecstatic with that, man. And that's very achievable, even on a $30,000 account. So my goal, if I could 5x that, like if I could keep executing and building the account and getting more comfortable with the execution, make sure that, because a lot of times they'll mess with people psychologically when they're playing with bigger numbers, seeing, like, if you 10x that, being down 7 grand in a day instead of 700 is a big difference, right? Big difference. So even if I could just 5x that, let's say I could bring my average between 500 to 1,000 a day, but 5x it. So instead of a $30,000 account, do a $150,000 account. Build it up over time. First, obviously, I'll play around with a $60,000 account, then a 90, then a 120, then a 150, and scale up accordingly. So by the time, I'm not going from like 30 to 150, and all of a sudden the trades are 5 times bigger. You do it in steps, and it eases the process. It's like lifting weights, man. It's like you don't go from like 135 pounds to 225 to 315. No, you go to 135 to 155 to 175, 185, 205, 225. You do it in steps, and you're comfortable physically and mentally doing that, right? So same thing with trading, similar concept. But let's just run the numbers. Let's say I do maintain this average and I 5x everything, and I'm just playing with a $150,000 account, which gives me $600,000 of intraday buying power. You can move a lot of stock with that, right? It's pretty good. So let's 5x everything. That means instead of making 125 to 250 a year, that would basically be 625,000 to like what, 1.2 million roughly? Yeah, 1,250,000 dollars. So you could literally make between $500,000 to like 1.2. Like let's say roughly $1 million a year off a $150,000 account trading full time. That is possible, man. And that is what I ultimately want to and will achieve, to make that 500,000 to $1 million a year trading as I build this community and, chronicle the trades. Make sure to subscribe if you're not subscribed. Because look, I'm smart in the sense that I'm not just trying to make money trading. I eventually want a trading group. I eventually want to get this channel monetized. I eventually want to get sponsors and advertisers, and I'm going to do all kinds of fun stuff. I'm going to do a $1,000 to $100,000 options challenge. So anybody who's got like $1,000, for example, they could see the process where if I break it down in the kind of trades I want to do, I could definitely see that happening, but we'll see it. Like I could say whatever I want, but unless I do it and then show you guys the results, it's meaningless until I manifest into reality. So that's going to be a fun challenge. I'm also going to do some of these prop firms because a lot of people who get into trading may not necessarily have the capital, and they obviously, if they get into it, they don't have the experience. So they should try these different prop firms. So I'll even try some of those, see if I could pass the challenge, and then also make sure that they actually give the payouts, because that's also something that people run into. It's like they get funded and then they make money, and then all of a sudden the prop firm, for whatever reason, says they broke the rule and they don't pay him, and then it's just, well, what the hell am I doing this for? It's very disappointing. I put money in to sign up for the challenge. I built up the skills. I passed the challenge. Now I don't even get paid. That's kind of disheartening. So I'm going to share my experience with these different prop firms, make sure that they're legit, and the ones that are legit, I'll recommend them to you guys. So lot going on for the future of this channel in general, and I'll do a future video on how I even got here. Like, why wasn't I day trading full time last year, for example? I'll just give you a briefer right now. So I have I'm not a schizophrenic, but I kind of have three identities. Everyone's got their government name, right? So I'm David, and then on this, I'm the financial Ronin. But I'm also the Viking Samurai, which I have another YouTube channel, and you can also follow my life and my exploits on Real Viking Samurai on Instagram, where I do several different stories. So that is more my pursuit and lifestyle as a natural bodybuilder, a lifetime martial artist, and also a film actor. So one guy that actually really motivates and inspires me is Josh Brolin. Amazing actor, but he's also a day trader. He was actually making a lot of money trading stocks, like between acting jobs. I mean, now obviously he makes more than enough just acting. I'm sure he still manages investments. I'm not sure if he day trades or not. But that kind of like gave him the freedom and opportunities to pursue the movie thing while not being locked down to like a 9 to 5, where a lot of times you can't get away if you got to go away for 3 weeks to do a movie shoot. So that's why a lot of actors are like waitresses or they drive Uber, because they need the flexibility. But the sad thing is, if the acting thing doesn't work out, then they've really made no money and they really don't have any skills they could take elsewhere, because they pursued something I would think they were passionate about. And then, if it doesn't work out, they're stuck being a bartender, a waiter, or an Uber driver. Whereas at least with trading, I'll have a skill that I can use the rest of my life, and that could generate a good income, like if I was in the corporate world, right? But yeah, I'm doing the movie pursuits. Check out the upcoming Bloodstorm. Here's a quick little clip. I'll keep you alive if you help me get off this island.
You know we have a prisoner, right?
Yeah, that's why I'm here. The guy from San Quentin, right?
He's not a guy. He's a killer, a very dangerous killer.
And then I'm also pursuing influencer boxing. I was supposed to actually have a fight against one of the greats, the all-time greats, Sugar Shane Mosley, last summer, but I had dislocated my shoulder, had an injury, unfortunately. But we were going through everything, man. We had the press conference and all kinds of cool stuff. But just in general, any actor is going to be at home more often than away, right? Like if you get the opportunity to be away for a couple of weeks, work on a film, great. Then you come back home. You might be home for 2, 3 months. So the time and energy I need to spend when I'm at home is just keep building up the trading and building this community. By having like the three, different identities, characters, so to speak, almost reminds me of. I'm not the only one that does this, by the way. You need these different personas, right? Like look at Eminem. His real name's Marshall Mathers. He's Eminem, but he's also Slim Shady. And each of those people, even though they're all him, they're all like a little bit different in their own way, right? So that's kind of how I am with the Viking Samurai. Look, I'm the actor, I'm the martial arts movie star, I'm the influencer boxer. It's different than the Financial Ronin. Financial Ronin, obviously, more of a conservative guy, whereas Viking Samurai is transitioning to more, over the top and outlandish, slowly over time. And then David's just David. I'm just like a, I don't want to say a normal guy. I don't think anyone's really normal. Like it's hard to say what normal is these days, and it's almost like who wants to be normal? I think anybody watching this wants to be successful in trading, wants to make a lot of money, wants to do something different. So already we're all a little abnormal, right? We're pursuing something that is outside of the comfortable 9 to 5 that people realize later, 20, 30, 40 years later, that, wait, I never really did what I wanted to do in my life. I feel like I wasted my life. And I think they did. So that's definitely not what this channel is about. And that's why we're doing this trading journey, man. We want a different life.